The culture is absolutely...
The gut ain't running there. Calling both games.
Minnesota is being pulled in all directions. They should be a lot better than what they are. They're undergoing a much-needed executive overhaul, and signs point to being ready to dismantle and retool the lineup. But it seems like they aren't. It might make sense considering how terrible the NFC looks on paper. Kick the can down the road, you never know what's gonna happen. Danielle Hunter was rumored to be cut due to an upcoming roster bonus, but common sense prevailed and he was paid accordingly. You know what? Why not one-up Green Bay in the process? Zadarius Smith is available, so lock him up and let him meet everyone at the quarterback. If they somehow manage to stay healthy. Despite all of this, the questions still linger. What's going to happen with the most hated Viking? Have you ever wondered what it's like when a couple has just given up on trying and is simply together out of convenience? This is where the Kirk Cousins saga continues. Neither side seems to be benefiting from this relationship. Minnesota is going nowhere and Cousins is still mocked throughout the football world. But nothing can break the love between two parties afraid of a divorce. You can always do worse, you know. Why not extend Cousins for another year? It won't do much for their championship efforts, but it'll help them avoid the inevitable. Once again, you can always do worse than Kirk Cousins. A hell of a lot worse.
Minnesota Vikings select Lewis Seen, defensive back, Georgia.
The Vikings. Why did you drop down over 20 selections? You didn't even get that good of a return from the Lions for dropping this far. Why not just take McDuffie or Hamilton where you were? I like dropping down and accruing picks when necessary, but not when the return is this meager. Not to say that Lewis Seen isn't a priority selection for the Vikings. Their secondary was atrocious last season. Endless cornerbacks falling to injury and aging Harrison Smith an embarrassing loss after embarrassing loss haunted them. They needed this one. All I hope is that Seen does better than the last secondary player they picked in the first round. They don't speak of Jeff Gladney here. I argue the Vikings the most improved team in the NFC this season. Not because of what they added, but who they subtracted. Mike Zimmer was the main thing holding back this group from what they could be. Let's consider it like this. When players come out to shit on the coach for a culture of fear he built, things got toxic. With a fresh start, Minnesota has the talent to make noise. Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson are impact players. The offensive line will hopefully resemble a line. But the question has always been, how far can Kirk Cousins really take them? A lot of Vikings fans may hate him due to unfulfilled expectations, but I'll say once again, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Cousins under center. Need to remind you of the Tavares Jackson era? I think this year reveals that soon enough. Even with the teams that are choosing to blow it up and start from scratch, there is still plenty of intrigue with the NFC. So many teams desperate to win a championship or go far into January. And even more trying to make a name for themselves. The NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion in years. So I'm going to maintain that narrative and pick Philly to win it. The NFC North is still Green Bay's to lose, but they're slowly losing grip on their stronghold. The NFC South has a few suitors, but the Bucs are still too loaded to really fail unless they get injured to hell and back. The NFC West? Huge question mark, but I think the Rams are still the team to beat. But what about the wild cards? It's tough to choose, there are so many good options here. In this case, I'm choosing the Niners, Saints, and Vikings. Yes, the Vikings. I think people are sleeping on them. Then again, we've said this about them before, only for them to fall apart. Sorry about that, Minnesota. I've been on the Packers Foundation being shaky train for months now. This week was supposed to be the standard superiority against a local other franchise in Minnesota. That would have been the case in the age of Mike Zimmer. Green Bay getting their fucking asses kicked in a week one is as standard as a sunny day in California. You can count on the Vikings to take a wrecking ball to whatever optimism Wisconsin had. I get the Packers had a ton of injuries, but Minnesota just had their way in every single orifice of it. Those holes include the drops the receivers had. Looking right at Christian Watson on this deep ball. Here's some delicious irony. Devontae Adams had more receiving yards than every Packers receiver combined this week. Oh, Aaron Rodgers is pissed off, all right. Only problem is that he's getting pissed at his own damn team. The passive-aggressive throwing of teammates under the bus on the Pat McAfee show will be must-watch this season. There are 2 Monday Night Football games this week? I was wondering why the West Coast Invitational wasn't week 1, but the NFL is apparently trying out something new, which means it'll be a regular occurrence soon enough. Perhaps the Eagles will be a team consistently featured in this new Monday night slot. Flashing new talent and a complete performance, they shut down any naysayers like Darius Slay clamped Justin Jefferson's production. Not to mention, Jalen Hurts has shown some flashes of being a big-time quarterback. With his offensive weapons, this team can make noise against a group other than Minnesota. You think Kirk Cousins is going to offer resistance? It's a Monday night game. This is his version of Stage 5-2 on Ninja Gaiden. That made sure this wasn't a contest. Easy win for the Eagles. Perhaps too easy. When the fuck did Detroit's offense get this good? Short sample size me all you want, but the Lions are pacing as one of the best offensive units in football, with Jared Goff as their QB. Is Dan Campbell simply Sean McVay in a muscle suit? Time will tell on that front. Detroit has a new god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the son of Michigan. With this kind of power, they can keep pace with their former superiors in the NFC North. That includes Minnesota. They've been struggling, haven't they? After last week's humiliation in Philly, it seemed like there would be more of the same. Detroit's up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter. You know that the world would love to see the Lions emerge to greatness. The Vikings now lack star power. Dalvin Cook's out for the game. Minnesota may score a quick touchdown with Dalvin Cook's doppelganger, but Detroit's not going to blow it. They'll just fail to convert a 4th and 1 to bury their opponent. Sucks, but it's all good. They stopped their rival on their own 4th down conversion. Bold move. Now finish them, Detroit.
Kick on the way, and he pushed it wide right.
Really? This is how you want to be taken seriously? Assert yourselves for once!
Cousins. No! He's got him. Touchdown. It's Osborne again. And
no, not like that! God damn it! I thought you were better than this, Lions. You were supposed to overcome shitty play calling, not reinforce it! Oh, if only this team had a defense to hold leads properly. The new question I'm asking, are the Vikings gonna finish with 3 wins or 13? This year has been a shit show so far, but that doesn't mean it can't be allowed to infect the UK as well. England is dealing with a potential energy crisis, so why not add to it by forcing them to watch the Red Rifle for 60 minutes? No Alvin Kamara either, so what does that equal? The New Orleans Saints withering into a husk. Offensively, it's a mess. For both teams. You apparently want to send England your best and you're giving them 3/4 of this shit. But then the NFL remembered that they need to develop their international brand. His Majesty's Kingdom managed to get a game that wasn't a complete blowout. Ironically, they paid tribute to the allegedly better football by kicking absolute lasers through the uprights. Yes, even the Vikings. New Orleans even managed to wake up on offense. We have a game. The Saints have the lead after shocking displays of offensive competence, but then the bullshit commences. Adam Thielen is literally ripping Marshawn Lattimore's face off, yet this is solely defensive PI. The British know a thing or two about the refs fucking them over, so they'll accept the Vikings touchdown. And on cue, the Vikings miss the extra point to keep the game a 3-point score. New Orleans doesn't have the talent, but they still have moxie. And they'll go down to at least make it a shot. Will Lutz, they're gonna need a miracle.
for Will Lutz.
Welcome to the NFL, where the insane is normalized. A tie is the reward across the pond. Minnesota now has serve, and they'll do everything to snatch victory. But it has to come by overcoming trauma. The field goal.
Good snap. Good hold. The kick by Joseph. It is good!
The Vikings can make clutch field goals? We truly are in the end times. Too bad their defense can't stop a damn thing, and the Saints still have a glimmer of hope. Well, Lutz, they're gonna need another miracle.
Good snap. Good hold. Lutz's kick on the way! Oh, and it is off! The uprights! Double doink!
What do you call a double doink in England? A Welshman? I'm honestly impressed with Lutz. Dude did all of that from 60 yards out. I don't care if the Saints lost. Put that ball in game. Cody Parkey, you've got company for once. In the next chapter of teams that can't finish their shitty opponents off, we have the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know what to think of them. They're much better than last season, but as games like this show, they have a long way to go before they're taken seriously by the football public. The Bears suck. A visibly rebuilding franchise trying to wash off the stench of the bumbling Nagy and Pace shit show. With the Vikings immediately rushing out to a 21-3 lead, this should have been a complete blowout where I used tired tropes to talk about the Bears. Unfortunately, what I forgot is that purple is the color of royalty. And this noble was poisoned by his own servants. As they writhe and gasp for air, Chicago manages to somehow cobble together offensive drives. It takes a while for them to do so, but with Minnesota's offense unable to solve the dreaded mystery of kicking an accurate field goal, it's plenty of time for them to come back into the game. Justin Fields actually looks somewhat competent. That's the most damning testament about the Vikings so far. Kirk Cousins does his standard Kirk Cousins interception at a crucial moment, and the unthinkable happens. The Bears have taken the lead. Minnesota can't let Chicago win a game. They gave themselves the Heimlich maneuver to revive the offense. Kirk Cousins uses his atrophying clutch muscle to lead a drive down the field to allow the Viking horns to sound in the deep. They have retaken the lead with a touchdown. But the Bears won't go down quietly. With time still on the clock, a chance at snatching victory is theirs.
Fields underneath, he finds the former Viking Amir Smith-Marset, and it's stripped away by Dantzler!
Too bad Cameron Dantzler did the same. Like many teams, Minnesota escapes with an extremely ugly win. Get the fuck out of here before I rip you further. I'd feel bad for Miami for their self-inflicted situation, but I really don't. A series of concussions to their quarterbacks have forced them to chuck Skylar Thompson into the fire. He did not survive. He too was injured and had to leave the game. Fortunately, Teddy Bridgewater was healthy enough to take a snap, and his glass body surprisingly didn't break for a few hours. Despite this sudden surge of health, he could not break through the Vikings' defense. The opposing offense couldn't do it either. It's okay, Kirk. You'll have plenty of time to try and solve the Rubik's Cube of the Dolphins. Their defense is pretty stout. Despite the countless chances for Minnesota to put this game away, they failed to take advantage. Miami is creeping back into the affair. With the defense holding, Teddy has a chance to lead a drive that can grant him revenge.
Third down and 15. Bridgewater's pass complete. And then Waddle loses the football, and it's recovered by Bynum of the Vikings.
And the win waddles away. Jalen fumbled that like the Dolphins fumbled their excellent start to the year. After that, Dalvin Cook reinforced his standing as one of the more underrated backs in the NFL, and Minnesota sprinted to victory. We thought Miami was a Super Bowl contender 3 weeks ago. Those epic matchups feel like ancient history. Today we get a team lost at sea, thriftless and without wind to aid their sails. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. It's Miami's curse in a nutshell. I would say the Cardinals fans should be rooting for their team to lose, but we all know the Bidwells are too inept to do the right thing. They'll let their team be run into the ground, and they'll do it with a smile on their face. Against Minnesota, Arizona lived up to the Cardinal rule. Whenever you have a chance to win, find a way to screw the pooch. Their opponent was definitely beatable. The Vikings apparently met with their ancestors beforehand. It apparently caused them to hallucinate and shit themselves in a ton of situations. Even then, the Cards find ways to fuck it up. Kyler Murray misused his kill streak perk and made another foolish pass for a pick. Minnesota fumbled to give Arizona prime field position. Good news, Kyler fucked the ball again. Another brutal interception when being down by 1 score. An ill-conceived turnover on downs. As I said, they are aggravatingly bad, even with DeAndre Hopkins playing God himself. Here's some film for you to study, Cliff. Why is Pat Pete able to rightfully shit on the organization and launch a tactical nuke? Even he's shitting on Kyler. Don't count your eggs until they're hatched. Everyone remember that old fable read back in elementary school? Washington and their fans forgot all about it. Things were looking up for the commies early on. The stars were aligning in their favor. Their defense was stuffing Minnesota with both fists after an opening TD drive. Under the might of Taylor Heineke, he would control the referee to interfere with a defender to allow Curtis Samuel to score a touchdown. His unsung and gritty power would guide Washington to a 10-point lead. Hailing of Heineke and taunting of Kirk Cousins ran rampant. I bet you liked that, didn't you, Washington? You probably also liked this brutal interception by Heineke to give the Vikings prime field position. Maybe they also liked that touchdown to Dalvin Cook to tie the game. The commie offense shuts down while Minnesota methodically eats clock to win. Don't forget to add a brutal penalty on the first field goal attempt to eat even more clock beforehand. Remember the moral of the story. Don't count your eggs until they're hatched. the Vikings just let you know why. No, I told you guys I want to pursue other projects. We don't need to dilute the YouTube pool with more meaningless shit. Think about quality. This channel's falling off with all this garbage. Then again, that would imply this channel wasn't garbage to begin with. This isn't an ordinary tongue-in-cheek greatest game as we usually showcase on this awful channel. This matchup is worthy of the gods. Two teams that have emerged as potential Super Bowl contenders with their strong starts. On the opposing corner, the Minnesota Vikings. The most unsung, seldom talked about 7-1 team you will ever see. A group instantly revived after shedding the cancer of Mike Zimmer. Amazing how replacing a culture of fear of something resembling a real locker room can help players maximize their potential. However, there are doubters. Their highlights are beating Week 1 Packers and Miami sending Skylar Thompson to his death. This next matchup will be their first true test. The Buffalo Bills at their home are on the docket. A true machine and worthy Super Bowl contender. A team loading up for an all-in push with moves to overcome their horrible menace in Kansas City. We can take a guess or two as to why that might be. Things look good for them at first glance, but issues are starting to bubble to the surface. Josh Allen has not been himself. He's throwing terrible passes in the red zone not seen since his first 2 years in the league. Not to mention that he's dealing with a UCL injury. Allegedly minor, but one slight push could result in the end of his season. Their secondary is banged up by injury, and pieces aren't meshing together optimally. It's resulted in a horrible fate. Losing to the Jets. No man should have to suffer through that. To say Buffalo must win this game is hyperbole, but it wouldn't hurt. Dreams of securing the division potentially hang in the balance. Giving up big passes to Justin Jefferson to start the game after a 3-and-out isn't a good way to do that. In fact, being unable to stop Justin Jefferson whatsoever. That touchdown was as easy as he does the gritty. Don't worry, the hamstring was in on the act. Maybe Duke Johnson was as well with this big return. I was wondering where this guy went off to. He was good in Cleveland. But this sound unleashed the power of the Bills' offense. Not from Josh Allen, but by Devin Singletary. Diversity in offense is a good thing. Allen will come around soon enough. The defense does at least. Josh will flash his brilliance on the next drive, spreading his greatness to all of the weapons at his disposal. Not just with his arm, but with his legs. As the defense expects Josh to carry the rock, give it to the running backs to secure another touchdown. Kirk Cousins would do something, but he's only optimal when playing against 2-7 teams. He airmails a pass to the Bills' defense. Keep your shirt on today, buddy. It's celebration time in Buffalo. As the snow falls, the heads of their enemies do as well. Perhaps we can find where Josh Allen's head went off to. He's making very erratic throws as of late. I don't know if it's the elbow or different looks from defenses, but his decision-making's just not there. The Bills will settle for a field goal. A new game must be played. Can Buffalo stop a third down? The answer there is yes. Eventually. They stopped them on the most important one, so Minnesota must settle for 3. Buffalo can now start to put this away. Look at the offense cook. Beef on Weck for every receiver Josh Allen can throw it to. It's only a matter of time before the feast will commence. The roast burn in the oven. A self-inflicted wound that may yet give the Vikings life. You get to your opponent's 35, it better. Spoiler alert for those in the audience, it didn't. A 4th down was stymied by Kirk Cousins syndrome. Take 2 on the preparation for the feast. This time they had someone watching the oven to make sure everything didn't burn down. With the passing game, the Bills march to the dinner table. May the feast begin. Why the hell do I keep talking about food? I know I'm a fat ass, but it's a bit overkill. It's only halftime with the Bills up by 14. Should be over, right? Not if Minnesota has something to say about it. They smell the roast and are hungry for meat. Good news, Kirk, you're next to go into the oven. I never said that Buffalo didn't enjoy exotic flesh. They're so stuffed that they go 3-and-out on the next drive. The Vikings are still trying to recover from the bite mark, so they're forced to punt back as well. The Bills attempt to march back to further solidify their lead, but are ironically stuffed by descendants of purple people eaters. Fortunately, a field goal does make this a 3-score game, so they'll take it. It's do or die time for the Vikings. Time is slipping away. Oh yeah, they have Dalvin Cook. He's pretty damn good, isn't he? His elusiveness brings Minnesota back from the jaws of death itself. 10-point game. Cause for concern? Not for an old friend of the Vikes.
Allen again rolls. On the move, lets it fly. Oh, kids! Oh, what a catch!
This is why Buffalo pays this man the big bucks. Death-defying one-handed grabs like this. With this effortless athleticism and some Josh Allen heroics on third down, victory is all but assured. Down to the red zone with time to spare. Take us home, Josh.
So here we go. Allen on 4th and 2. Keeps it alive. Josh Allen into the end zone, and it's picked by Peterson.
Josh, man, what the hell was that? I thought you got rid of those jitters in year 3. You went for it on 4th because they trusted you, not to stab them in the back. Worse, Allen looks banged up after the play. Not that it matters, they can end the Vikings' dreams on 4th and 1. They cannot. Make a damn tackle, boys. Wrap up and drive. Better yet, don't give up back-to-back 4th down sometime. If you did that, Minnesota wouldn't have driven down the field against a demoralized unit. Touchdown, Vikes. Good for CJ Ham. Fullbacks represent. Only if they didn't have a curse with kickers. Maybe that's what Buffalo envisioned when giving up those 4th downs. Minnesota's going to need at least 5 miracles to have a chance at winning now. One of them is Harrison Smith with a big breakup. The ball is theirs again, down by 4 with 3 minutes left. Can they find a way to overcome the elements? Can they prove themselves as legit? It's looking to be now. A 4th and long with Kirk Cousins? Yeah, good luck with that one.
Kirk Cousins back to throw on 4th and 18. He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness!
I really have to stop assuming shit. I said that Stephon Diggs' catch was death-defying. Justin Jefferson just ripped a potential win right out of Buffalo's grasp. The corner's attempt to catch the ball instead of swatting it away gives them a chance. It's enough for Jefferson to get Minnesota right to the goal line with a minute left. First down. Let's ignore that play. Second down. Airmailed for Jefferson, no flags on the field. Third down. Justin Jefferson fucking did it.
Hold it!
Never mind, his knee was down before the ball crossed the plane. 4th and goal at the 1. The ultimate test of strength and courage. What will ensue?
Cousins to throw. Cousins has Cook. He dropped the ball.
Oh, shitty football, I missed you so. Dalvin Cook just got bailed out by a defensive offsides call. We have to do it again. Everything I said previously, but with more intensity. We decide the game here.
Cousins to sneak it. Can he break the plane? Is he in? No signal yet. Still waiting. He's short. They slam the door.
Oh well. GG, Vikings. It was a damn good effort, but like all things in your franchise's history, you must be the eternal bridesmaid. Buffalo begins their celebration as victory is all but assured. The Twitter posts, the posturing, the victory lap. It's a win they nearly pissed away, but a win nonetheless. They may be at the half-yard line, but this game's over. We'll see you next week on how this league's gonna fucking kill me.
Zero breathing room. He tries to sneak it. The ball is loose. Impossible. Do the Vikings have it? Scramble for the ball. It is a touchdown on their last breath.
What the fuck just happened? God, I really need to stop drinking. A botched snap, ball goes off the center's thigh, and Eric Kendricks pounces on it for a Vikings touchdown. Do you believe in fucking miracles? You better now. Minnesota overcame every single bullet fired at them to take the lead at the last moment. Holy shit, what a game. And we're not finished yet.
Here I come to save the day.
You tend to forget that Josh Allen is still pretty good at throwing the rock. Mahomes can do it in 13 seconds, while Josh can do it in about as short a time frame. Cue the music. We have a tie ball game. Goddamn. I don't mean to piss on this parade, but this field goal shouldn't have happened. That sideline catch by Gabe Davis should have been incomplete. He never had full possession of the ball according to the NFL's rulebook. I don't know why the officials didn't stop play when that happened. Thanks to that, we have overtime. The Vikings will secure the ball first, and make sure any rumors of fraudulence are put to rest. mostly due to Justin Jefferson. He takes them down all the way to the 1. A chance of revenge for the last time they were here is within reach. Can they do it? They cannot. Fortunately, they can kick the field goal and take a 3-point lead. The sad part is the Bills got away with murder on this drive as well. They had 12 men on the field on 1st and goal. Jesus, Minnesota's had at least 10 miracles and 2 of them undone by missed calls. Now Buffalo has to strike hard and fast. It's Josh Allen's time for redemption. His legs will carry this team to field goal range and even more chaos. But Buffalo wants more. A breakup in the end zone on 1st down will not deter them. Allen will use his arm to finish this.
2nd and 10. Allen steps up and throws an interception. Patrick Peterson.
Josh, that's not what we meant by finish this. Pat Pete read that like it was Dr. Seuss. All of Buffalo lies in stunned silence. They had the knife on Minnesota's throat the entire game and couldn't muster it within themselves to kill. Hell, even the Zebras were trying to help you out. Overcoming all odds, the Vikings have their statement win of the season, and quite possibly one of the best wins in their team's history. A miracle of miracles for a city deprived of them. This win probability meter for both teams isn't a simple sheet. It's an EKG reading. Everyone died and rose again at least 6 separate times. This wasn't just a game, but truly a game of legend. It had everything you could ask for. Prolific offense, stout defense, endless chaos, efficient and sloppy play. If you didn't like this, I dare say you don't like football. And that's fine. My only counter-argument? The Vikings on the team play.
Push it big. I'm a big. The closer. The closer.
Game of the week. Maybe in a Madden simulation. Mike McCarthy hasn't left much of his vices from Green Bay behind. This also includes his fetish of routinely humiliating inferior little brother in the Vikings. Nobody told Minnesota that medieval weaponry can't stop bullets. It was slaughter. A decimation of hope after one of the greatest wins in team history. The Cowboys' defense made sure of that, destroying Kirk Cousins in the pocket every chance they got. Tony Pollard dominating on the offensive side to slice apart Minnesota's defensive unit. Skull chants were done in mockery by Dallas, for vengeance after last week's humiliation was achieved. Once again, this was supposed to be the game of the week. How bad was it? The Vikings now have a negative point differential on the year. CBS turned away from this massacre in the 3rd quarter. Even in Minnesota, it was a mercy killing. Now let's let the Cowboys have their way with their victims in the dark. The less said about what they're going to do to their dead bodies, the better. I'm legitimately shocked that both of these teams managed to score more than 13 points apiece in this one. With how great the Pats' defense and how awful the Pats' offense is, it's the real Minneapolis miracle. The other miracle will be Mac Jones getting real offensive minds to help him develop. The Vikings have long enjoyed their opponents being helped by a man named Patricia, and he did it again. Well, in spite of Mac Jones making some nice throws. All you need to counter that is Justin Jefferson becoming a demigod. It's been happening nearly every week this season, so that's fine enough. However, New England and ref ball shenanigans are a common occurrence. This time there'd be a twist. They're the victims of it. Begin another episode of What the Fuck is a Catch? Ball crossing the plane, making a football move, and having the hand underneath the ball as it hits the ground? Not a catch. Thanks to losing possession of the ball? I thought they changed that stipulation in 2018. How's it feel, New England? Jesse James caught that ball and you know it! Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck. This forces New England to kick a field goal instead. I would say it wouldn't have a major impact, but that would imply they have competent offensive minds. They don't. The Patriots will now be mourning this man who ran into the kicker. Let's say he'll be leaving his home and never coming back. The Vikings counter and proceed to finish the job. It blesses Minnesota with the greatest midseason honor anyone can bestow. A return to a positive point differential on the year. Pats fans, we would feel bad, but we really don't. The motherfucking era of Mike White has begun with haste. It's not starting out as well as hoped. He struts his cock out and throws all caution to the wind, results be damned. Good for them because Minnesota's jumped out to an early lead, in spite of trying to take it easy on their worthy opponent. They're just taking what the Jets are giving them and moving ahead methodically. No other way to do it to gain a 20-3 lead. However, you cannot resist the power of Mike White. Why? Because fuck you. If only the Jets weren't completely inept in the red zone. They made it down there 6 times in this contest. Only one of them resulted in a touchdown. Otherwise, it's back-breaking penalties, missed passes, and an uncomfortable amount of Braxton Berrios. Strange choice. In the meantime, the Vikings managed to score another touchdown. Even then, the Jets are creeping back into this contest. The refs felt bad for New York being shit in the red zone and gave them a touchdown on an overturned call on 4th and goal at the 1. The Vikings are only up by 5, and they're running into resistance from the opposition's defense. Mike White will get his chance to etch his name in stone, but a common foe is ruining their chances at gaining the lead.
Berrios, the motion man. White looking. White slings in. Berrios did not secure it.
Their sudden over-reliance on Braxton Berrios. And shitty red zone play as well. Minnesota's never been a team to give their fans a relaxing moment. It continues with another chance for the Jets to win. Their fans will die before they can celebrate. Yet, even then, New York has a major problem on their hands.
Jets down 5. White launches. Picked off, and it's over.
They step foot in the red zone again. Alas, the coin was wrong last week, so it must be wrong again to rectify the course of destiny. The Vikings escape yet another one-score game to keep pace for the number 1 seed. Considering they've beaten 3 of the 4 best defenses in the league, it's not a fluke. It's nice to see them win these games regularly for a change. Minnesota has been dancing through the raindrops all season long. I like what they're doing, but it was only a matter of time until their suspect defense and inconsistent offense would be exposed. Dallas showed us firsthand a few weeks ago. But Detroit? That's surprising. Not really because of Jared Goff suddenly going back to 2018 form. We've known about that for a few months now. The real surprise is the Lions' defense. They were the hottest of messes not even 2 months ago. Was Aubrey Pleasant really that shit of a secondary coach? This unit has done a complete 180 near overnight, making sure that Dalvin Cook can do absolutely nothing in this game, allowing the Lions to dominate a supposed Super Bowl favorite in tandem. The hunted has now become the hunter. Be careful, NFC. Detroit's won 5 of 6 and are only a game and a half out of a playoff spot. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear indeed. Before you know it, Penei Sewell is channeling his inner Jumbo Elliott. The playoff push is reaching its final stages. Only 1 spot has been clinched by Philadelphia, but 4 weeks remain. Philadelphia obviously has number 1 seed, but the division is still up for grabs. Minnesota, after an ugly loss this past week, is still 2nd seed, and the NFC North is technically secured as well. The torrid pace of the Niners has them starting to run away with the West in 3rd place right now. But the NFC South is best not discussed. Tampa Bay only has it because the division is straight up awful. Meanwhile, Dallas is sitting pretty with 10 wins and first wild card. After that, it's a mosh pit. Washington and the Giants are currently tied at 7-5-1, and Seattle struggling to maintain form with an easy schedule. Detroit's creeping up though. And don't forget the rest of the garbage in the NFC South still has a chance. The picture will become clearer as time goes on. And as we all know, there's only one rule to follow.
Don't get eliminated!
There ain't no rest for the wicked. Money don't grow on trees. I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. I almost went a month without doing one of these. Felt peaceful. But as I always say, the football gods show no mercy. They show none to the Indianapolis Colts. Their only solace is that this is the first game Jeff Saturday will coach on a Saturday. To say that this season has been a disaster is like saying Baltimore hates the Irsay family. It's a given. Now on the fringe of elimination, there was little hope for them against the Minnesota Vikings. Their season has been the epitome of cardiac. Nothing but tight game after tight game after tight game. And it usually comes down to the wire. It's been a great year in comparison to previous ones, but nothing's ever easy. Not even the chance to lock up the NFC North with a win. Minnesota is only favored by 3. This is at home, against a doormat. There are plenty of reasons for it. Mainly the fact that they have a negative point differential and got crushed against Detroit and Dallas earlier in the year. But that's just spitballing. There's plenty to enjoy with a Saturday matinee game. Now let's see how this game plays. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god! What in Sam hell have I just walked into? Most of us forgot there was a game and suddenly the entire world's gone to shit. It's 17-0 in the blink of an eye. And it's only getting worse. Kirk Cousins is tripping over himself. Himself! They keep going for it on 4th down. And they keep failing. They're faking punts and they're failing. He doesn't even have to do all that much. Just stand there and watch as the Vikings set themselves on fire whenever they have the ball. The suspect defense can only do so much. They're forcing the Colts to settle for field goals. You think things can't get worse when it's 23-0? Oh yeah, it does. Try what should be a fumble return for a touchdown called dead by means of ref ball. And the Vikes don't get possession. And then the cascade quickly becomes deadly. A pick six. A pick six. Come on, Kirk, this shit wasn't even your fault, and now even you're going to shit! This is a disaster. A complete disaster. The Vikings are revealing themselves to be total frauds in real time. One of the worst first halves I have ever seen out of a football team. Minnesota is stunned. Not the team, the whole damn state. They've been numb to pain by this team before, but this is something new. It's an outright collapse. 33-0 at the end of the first half. Dear God. After such moments, you would think this would be the end of such a tragedy. However, we don't understand the will of the gods. There are methods to their madness, and they save their greatest punishments for one man. His name is Matt Ryan. Almost 6 years ago, he had to witness a 28-3 lead crumble in front of his eyes on the biggest stage in football. He had to take blame for something that wasn't really his fault. Nothing was done to deserve it. The gods choose their toughest men to fight their hardest battles. Here they would do it again. No one knew it at the time, but they would be seeing the beginnings of the greatest comeback in NFL history. It starts out simple enough. A taunting penalty here, an offensive drive there, a long bomb to KJ Osborne to get into the red zone and finally score some damn points. Touchdowns are needed, but they'll need a lot to go right. Indy going on a 3-and-out is a good start. Prepare yourself, Matt Ryan, for Kirk Cousins drank his Gatorade before halftime. Just like that horrifying game you were a part of, you will lead them to a field goal. And merely that. Minnesota must continue the comeback. The Colts must break repeatedly against the onslaught of a Viking invasion. There is no stopping it. It can only continue. CJ Ham is the man who makes it 36-14, but it's the end of the third. How do you piss away a 22-point lead in 15 minutes? Simple. Indy's offense lays an egg. It's no longer your time, Matt. It's Captain Kirk's moment to cook. On another methodical, outstanding drive headed into the fourth. Justin Jefferson is now his main target. Touchdown, Vikings. The Colts must bow to their greatness, and they will with another quick drive. They aren't even burning clock. It's almost as if they're handing them the game.
Jefferson understands what's at stake. Cousins does as well as he loads it up and throws an interception.
Never mind. Throwing a fly ball to left field because Jalen Reagor doesn't give a fuck should be enough to end it, right? Right, Colts? You didn't. What the fuck? Predictably, Minnesota skull chants their way down the field with haste, ending with a touchdown to Adam Thielen. The improbable has happened. It's a one-score game. In their awe of such an accomplishment, Indy celebrates by fumbling the ball away for a touchdown. Wait, it was called dead? Why the hell did they do that? The ref shaved at least 14 points from the Vikings today. Can you not be fucking ass? Maybe then the Vikes wouldn't have had to rely on Kirk Cousins. Running. No such luck. Now, Indy, can you manage to survive or are you useless? You're useless. Great. It's not like you're gonna put a bow on this in one play, right?
They're going to set up the screen with Dalvin Cook and let him chew up the yards. Dalvin Cook! There he goes! Dalvin Cook is going to be caught up with blockers inside the 5. Touchdown!
There's no need to go further here. A 33-point comeback. The largest comeback in NFL history. And it's so fitting for both teams. This game was pure Colts and pure Vikings at the same time. It did go to overtime. And Minnesota did end up winning both this and the NFC North. But it has them reeking of fraudulence. Being down 33-0 to one of the worst teams in football? You're lucky you were playing the shitty Colts. Then again, that's why they call it Any Given Saturday. Because you can shit on Indy any chance you get. Fuck this game.
And the kick is good. It's a winner at US Bank Stadium.
They're both losers! Losers!
We've had quite a lot of teams reach playoff land this week, didn't we? It doesn't mean we're anywhere close to settling how things will shake out. Philly still holds number 1 seed and can clinch their division with either a win or Dallas loss. Minnesota and San Francisco both clinched their division since there's no elite team rivaling them in division. It's only positioning they're playing for. They won't have to worry about Tampa Bay. They are ass. And their division is even more ass. Please delete it from our existence. The winner of this shit pile will probably be hosting a playoff game against the Cowboys. And we will wish for death. The other 2 wildcard spots are currently held by the Giants and Commies despite the G-Men winning last week. Seattle is falling hard while Detroit is rumbling back into the picture after being left for dead. Green Bay hangs on by a thread. And so does the rest of the NFC South. This is gonna be quite fucky, isn't it? Everyone left, you know what to say.
Don't get
We've seen plenty of games where one team is an incredibly inconsistent outfit that exists to agonize their fan base. But what happens if both teams give their fans endless widowmakers? There's no need to fantasize about such a mass extinction event. It happened with the Vikings and Giants, 2 franchises that have greatly exceeded expectations placed upon them. But have those watching wonder when the other shoe will fall? My question is, does anyone survive this game in attendance? Or is it like the Ark of the Covenant where those that watch die gruesome deaths? They're at least getting a good matchup to watch in the process. It's a fight to the bitter end. A duel where both teams know the perils of losing. Neither can afford to for their ambitions. That's why the pendulum constantly swings back and forth, each maintaining grasp of their enemy just to make sure they won't get away. The G-Men are slowly creeping back into the picture despite their mistakes, but a blocked punt in their own territory is cause for alarm. Minnesota scores a touchdown and the Giants are down by 8 in the 4th. They need a great drive to have any chance of success. With Daniel Jones and Saquon leading the way, New York not only scores a touchdown, they tie the game with 2 minutes left. So how do we make this even more incomprehensible? Minnesota still has a chance to win, and they've made it to the fringes of field goal range. But with their reputation, we're probably headed to OT.
From 61.
And he has done it again!
The Vikings making clutch field goals with regularity. I think this was foretold as one of the signs of the end times. Greg Joseph, of all kickers, booted a 61-yard game winner willy-nilly. Minnesota escapes the clutches of failure yet again. I don't want to live in this timeline. Roger Goodell's riding above me as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. With a few big losses this week, the NFL playoff picture has become a mosh pit, as has been written for time eternal. The NFC East is still the same scenario as before. Winning clinch for Philly, and that includes the number 1 seed. If Dallas loses once as well, they are doomed to play as a road team in the wild card. The NFC South is still the division that should not exist, and Tampa Bay can seal it away with a win against the Panthers. If Carolina wins, though, we continue down the chaos timeline. New Orleans is still technically alive, but will need a lot to happen to win the South. With wildcards, Dallas most likely will be headed to the NFC South winner. The Giants still sit comfy, a game ahead of Washington for the 2nd spot, with the Commies taking last seat for now. With Detroit and Seattle both losing last week, Green Bay can bullshit their way to a postseason berth with a few more things happening in their favor. But they need the Lions and Seahawks to keep losing. The Saints can also clinch a wild card, but it's an extreme long shot. But it's a shot nonetheless. And if you have that, you can still chant the rule.
Don't get eliminated!
There's a reason why many people find the Minnesota Vikings the biggest frauds this side of Sam Bankman-Fried. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because whenever they have to play a critical matchup or a quality team, they turn into an ostrich burying its head in the sand. The perfect opportunity was there to one-up hated older brother to the east. But they were feeling generous. They chose to simply bend over and let them have their way. Green Bay was favored by 3, but that may have been out of pity for the Vikings. In trading Lambeau, you seriously expect to overtake the Packers with some random guys from HR? What are you gonna do, litigate them to death? It's how we know we're in hell. Green Bay's winning crucial home games in January. And thanks to every single thing falling in their favor, they now control their own destiny to a bullshit 7th seed. They don't deserve it with how badly they played early in the year, but I don't think the football gods want Detroit to make it. They have a special hatred of them. The NFC East is also somehow still up for grabs, with Philadelphia being winning clinch for the 3rd week in a row. If Dallas wins and Philly loses next week, we all die. Every other division is locked up, but number 1 seed is still up for grabs. Philly should have it, but if they lose and San Fran wins, the Niners get it. If both of them lose and Dallas wins, we all die more. Then the 7th seed. Green Bay now controls their own destiny, God help us all. If Green Bay suffers another January home loss, Seattle would have to win to get it. If both the Packers and Seahawks lose, Detroit would slingshot back to the top. It's a lot to digest, and hard to comprehend considering situations. But we must remember,
Don't get eliminated!
The greatest miracle. In this league's darkest hour, an angel rose from the ashes of tragedy. Nathan Peterman is starting a football game in 2023. The most glorious blessing that has been bestowed upon us in uncertain times. With Justin Fields nursing injuries, the goal for Chicago is to lose with incredible speed. There is an unsung tank to guide to greatness. Minnesota needs this game more than the Bears do, and the boys at Soldier Field will make sure of it. Mostly with throwing in Aaron Rodgers' clipboard holder Tim Boyle to throw tasty treats to the Vikings defense. Despite being 9 games over 500, Minnesota has a point differential of -5. That's all you need to know about them. It may be another ugly loss to lose 10 in a row, but there's no turning back now. They need to look to another matchup for glories unseen. The Super Tank Bowl! And there you have one of the sloppiest NFL seasons we've seen in a long time. Depending on how you view things, it's either thanks to a revival of defense or incredibly terrible offense. I'm on the side of the latter, but when you see a collapse of anything resembling discipline and technique, it tends to be like that. But as the playoffs await, it's time to get sappy and sentimental. I consider Sportsball as a project of sorts, and it feels weird when it's over. I want to thank you for joining me for another year of this madness, and I wish you all nothing but the best. It's been 6 seasons since I started this series, and I somehow haven't lost my damn mind yet. Perhaps these playoffs will do the trick. I'll see you all for the Haters Guide. I knew that getting rid of Mike Zimmer was the best move of the offseason, but like this? Something smells really rotten in the state of Denmark. And it ain't Shakespearean intrigue. All you have to do is look at their negative point differential. With that record, it reeks of insane fraudulence, constantly escaping their own undoings by means of Justin Jefferson becoming God. Anything to overcome one of the worst defenses and turnover ratios in the NFL today. Last year, they somehow lost games they should have won. This time, the Uno reverse card was used to incredible effect. And it's mostly due to a combination of no Mike Zimmer and high-end talent. I'll give them credit for an outstanding year, but they're shooting way above their pay grade. Know how I know this? Watch them against legit contenders. They get fucking destroyed against most of them. Almost as if they didn't know how to play football some weeks. This is the kind of group that's going to walk into a match and get bitch slapped for 60 minutes. In due time, the Minneapolis Miracle will become the Minneapolis Massacre. I just don't know if it'll be now or later. A former Vikings coach said it best. They are who we thought they were. Frauds. A glorified 9-win team that ended up shooting well above their pay grade and finally got called out for it. Minnesota should have learned to fortify its defenses. When going up against the Giants, it felt like they could do nothing to stop them. You can't look at how poorly they played and tell me this was a quality football team. Ed Donatel butchery all season. Firing him afterwards is too late. High-end talent isn't enough to bail out whatever that was. And it was painful. Daniel Jones and Saquon had a field day. And you gave New York the worst thing you could have offered. Legitimate hope. Kirk Cousins may have had a good game, but his legacy in Minnesota is set in stone. A 3-yard check down on a 4th and 8. Perpetually coming up short. The story of the Kirk era. It's a shame he's gonna be Bill Buckner and he doesn't deserve it, but that's how the human brain works.